Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be doing the May repurchase review. So if you are new here, what that means is we're going to go through all of the products I featured on my channel this month and any updated thoughts on those products, kind of like a summary of the month. And then at the very end of the video, I'll give you my top 5 products for the month. So let's go ahead and get started. And we are going to start off with the Fluency. These are actually a multi-stick, and my favorite one is the shade I Am Brave, which is red. And you can use this, let's see here, you can kind of buff this out, use it on the cheeks, you can use it on the lips. You know, it's really a great product. The best thing about this is that all of the colors are from vegetables. So, you know, it is vegan, it's plant-based, the packaging is like plant-based as well. So, you know, it's a really sustainable option, and I think it's a really nice product. So this was previously known as Ada Lip Beauty, and they had lipsticks. So the lipsticks and the multi-sticks, we have 2 of the same shades from that lineup, but the multi-stick formula is going to be a little bit different as it is now intended for other areas on the face. So this one in particular, the I Am Brave, is my favorite. Next up, we have the Viseart Paris Reverie palette, and this has become a real go-to for me. I love this palette. You've got kind of some warmer shades, you've got some cooler shades, you've got neutral shades. So there's kind of something for everybody, and you've got a lot of like peaches and lavenders and so forth. So I'm just going to swatch a few of these shades so you can kind of see them. But I just think it's a really beautiful palette. It's also a nice alternative to the Dior Spring palette with the lavender. So, you know, I think it's a really great color story, great formulas, and, you know, with Viseart, you're always getting a great price as well. So one more time, here are a few of the shades there. You've got mattes, you've got shimmers. So you have a variety in here. And the fact that all of these pans can mix and match, and this particular étendue size, you know, that mixes and matches with most of their products. So it's the 1.5 gram size. So I think it's fantastic. And I forgot to mention the Fluency. Those 3 were gifted to me, but they are ones that I would purchase. You know, I purchased the original lipsticks from them, and they're definitely ones I'd purchase again. But my favorite is the I Am Brave. So if I were to do it over, that's the one that I would definitely start with. And the Viseart Paris Reverie, that was also gifted, but I would definitely purchase that as well. You know, it's one that I'd been reaching for, you know, pretty much once or twice a week. So I really love this one. Next up, we have the Sweed Miracle Powder. And I think this is a really great product. You know, this is a powder, but it is not very dry. You can see just from the texture that it has a little bit of moisture to it, like a moisture powder. And this comes in a variety of shades. So you can use this as a powder foundation. When you do that, it is going to be, you know, a bit more, there's a sheen to it. And I have the shade Fair, and you could also use this more as like a setting powder or a finishing powder and get just a little bit of that sheen to it. And I think it's just a really nice product. So you can kind of see through the swatch, kind of that pearly finish you get. It's like really very, very finely milled, like a mica look. So very, very finely milled. And so you're not seeing actual like glitter particles, but you are getting that sheen, that sparkle from it. So the Sweed powder was gifted, but it is one that I would purchase. And actually, I'm really interested in trying some other Sweed products now. So definitely look for more from that brand coming soon. And let's go ahead and move on to some brushes. All right, so next we have this brush here from SUQQU and Bobo, Fude Bobo. And this brush here, you know, you've got, first of all, this beautiful owl on there. I love the Maki design on here. And this is a huge powder brush. I mean, look at the size of this. What I think makes this one kind of stand out is that we have a bit more of that tapered shape at the end, which makes it a little bit more functional than your average super large brush. But I think it's a really nice powder brush. We also have the SUQQU Artist Series. And you can also find this listed under the name Ihodo. And these basically, you know, long story, to make a long story short, they are actually manufactured by SUQQU, but you might see them under the iHodo brand as well. And this here is my favorite from the series. This is the artist series. This was gifted. And this is the number 2 brush. So you can see we've got these nice short handles. This series is kind of like it's their professional update to the SUQQU FO series. And I love this blush brush. I love having a blush brush with a round ferrule. You kind of get that ball head. And I think the shape of this is fantastic. And it's just so incredibly soft, yet you still have some control with this. So I think for me, this was my favorite brush from the set, but if you're interested in these, definitely check out the review. I have them compared with the original FO brushes, as well as the Zen series from SUQQU. Now, as for which ones I would purchase again, I would purchase the Owl brush. I would also I'd probably purchase the entire artist series, but if I wanted to really narrow things down, first I would number 2, number 3, number 1, then 4, 5. So that's kind of my order of preference for those. Next, we have a bunch of items from Bobbi Brown. So let's start off with the Longwear Cream Liner Sticks. I love the Bobbi Brown eye crayons. So this is kind of like your eye crayon, but it does have a liner shape. And this one here is going to be the shade Aubergine. And you can see it's just a nice deep eggplant purple. And I think these are really great liners. So you do have, you know, it's a twist up, but you have a sharpener in the end so you can maintain that shape. And these go on, they glide on like the Bobbi Brown crayons, but then they really set. I mean, the crayons do as well, but you know, it's essentially a slightly drier version than the crayons. And then, you know, they last really well on the eyes. So I would definitely pick up more of these. I bought 2 of them and I really like them. I'd love to see some more fun colors from them. They basically have the basics out right now. And then we also took a look at some of the new Bobbi Brown. These are called the Plump Lip Serum, the Extra Plump Lip Serum. This one here is shade Bare Lilac, which is very, very similar to the Dior Pink Lilac. So I think this is a great alternative to the Lip Maximizer from Dior. And let me see, I think, yep, I have that right here. So let's take a look at that with it. And you can see how close those are. So they're pretty close. Definitely close enough. Anyway, the Bobbi Brown Lip Serum, I think it's a really nice product. It's, you know, a lightweight gloss with a little bit of a tint. The purple, you're not going to see too much, but I also purchased the Bare Raspberry, which will give you a nice pink look on your lips. So very lightweight, gorgeous, and it does feel nourishing on the lips. So I would purchase those again. Then we also went into the Rose Glow collection, and let's see here. Kind of went through a bunch of these in the video for that, but I would skip the opal shade. I would get the Golden Fern and the Periwinkle from the eye crayons in here because they both have this, actually all of the shades in the Rose Glow collection have this color packaging and they're a limited edition, but they all have like a color flip, which I think is really, really nice. The opal one though just doesn't seem to be as smooth. You can see it looks a little chunkier. So, you know, I would pass on that shade, but I'd purchase the other 2 again. And then the Petal Glow highlighter, really pretty. I was super excited for this. I love the way it looks, but it's a little bit too large and chunky. So this is one that I'd pass on that. And then from the Kerry Rosenthal collection, I know I mentioned we definitely have a lot of Bobbi Brown. This is the Luxe Eyeshadow Quad. This is called Moonstruck, and I would pick this up again. I feel like her collections, the Bobbi Brown Company collections have been really hard to find this time. So although this color palette, you know, I do find it to be a little bit similar. Some of the shades are a little bit similar to each other. It's nothing special or unique color-wise. I love the Luxe formula, and I think these are some great neutrals. I just think it's a great bargain to purchase the Luxe quads when they have them, since the singles are significantly more expensive. So I would definitely pick that up again. And then I also picked up what they're calling the cool trio. It's magic eyeshadow trio, and I would definitely pick this up again. This last shade here, I'll just put that right there. This one here is my favorite. Let's just swatch the rest of the trio right there. And this is kind of like a creamy satin formula. And then we have a matte. Again, it's not a dry matte, but it is kind of silky. And then the shimmer shade, I do think the shimmers in the Luxe formula are better. But really, I'd buy the trio for this shade. I think it's a really beautiful shade. You can see, although it's a cool tone shade, we have a little bit of a warmer undertone in it as well. So you can kind of emphasize either of those attributes. Moving on to Armani, we have the new Armani bronzer. I picked up shade 90. It's okay. It's a nice shimmery bronzer. I like the formula. Don't love the color. It's very oversized. You have a 2-year shelf life for 18 grams of product. It is made in China, which is different for Armani. Most of their products, this is the first Armani product I've had made in China. So yeah, I think it's okay. Honestly, I'm on bronzer overload, and this shade in particular is too yellow for me. So it's not one that I've been reaching for at all. So I would pass on that personally. I mean, the Gucci 01, you really can't beat it. I keep trying to find, you know, other bronzers I love. It's that one. The Surratt Soleil Claire is another great one. You know, Tom Ford Terra is always a classic. You know, but there are just so few with kind of that rosy hint to it. So we'll see. And I do have, I think, more bronzers coming. I can't remember. But let's go ahead and take a look at the cheek tints, which are here. So the Armani liquid blushes. These are their Luminous Silk cheek tints. And I have to say, I do really like these. They are a nice liquid. They sheer out. You can build them up. Depending on the color, you can get a bit deeper. But they're a nice liquid that sets. They last pretty much all day. You do get a little bit of fading at the end of a long day, but the average day, they last throughout that. And I think they're a really nice formula. So I love being able to mix and match those as well. They are not as thin as something like the Daniel Sandler watercolor blushes, but not as thick as something like, you know, some of the other liquid blushes we've seen, like the Charlotte Tilbury or something. So they're kind of in between those two texturally. Then we have a whole bunch of stuff from Dolce Gabbana. So they release a whole bunch of products on their website and at Saks. So this is the makeup primer. This I have been using quite a bit. So would I purchase it again? I wouldn't say it makes it into my top favorites for primer still, but I do like this. So I'll use up this tube, but I probably will not buy it again. However, if you have oily skin, this is a nice lightweight primer. And so I think this is really great for summer. So I will definitely be using this during these warmer months. And I mean, you can see how much of it I have used already. So keep in mind, this is an aluminum tube. So once you kind of press it, it doesn't fill back up with air. And it does come, I'm looking for it here on my desk because I still haven't had time to clean this place. But it does come with one of those metal, you know, the clips, the slides that you put on here to kind of depress your tube. But I was waiting to use a little bit more up first. So that I would purchase. I would not purchase again, but I will use all the way up. And then from their lip plumping gloss, this is the mint oil lip plumper. I would skip this. This was definitely not worth it in my opinion. What was worth it though were the Dolce & Gabbana blushes. So here are the blushes. They have this nice white packaging on here. I do miss, like I've always seen the beautiful pictures of the Dolce & Gabbana makeup with the beautiful packaging. And they don't have any of that here in the US yet, but this one here is going to be the shade Blissful Mauve. It's number 1. And I think it's great. We have a really nice formula here. It's kind of like it's more powder than gel, but it is like a gel powder formula. And yeah, I think these were definitely the star for me out of the items that I recently picked up. I also picked up their bronzer, which, you know, for me, that particular shade, nice formula, but that shade again was a little bit too warm, so it's not one I've been reaching for. I also bought their skin tint. So here's the skin tint. I have to say, I don't love it. You know, it's okay. It's just, it really doesn't provide any coverage. It's less of a skin tint and more of a very faintly tinted moisturizer, but perhaps I do have a bit of the wrong color. So I think it's a nice product, but it's not a love. I will not be repurchasing this. Actually, for skin tint, the only one I've really been using, well, actually I've been using two of them, would be the Lisa Eldridge and the Sisley. I like the Sisley in Zero. So those are the two that I reach for skin tints. And that has sort of just been sitting here. And then we also had the Tom Ford Cream Blush in, this is Cafe Rose, or Cafe Blush is the name. It's a Cafe Rose collection. And it looks pretty warm when you swatch this. You can definitely see it's kind of that peachy shade there, kind of a terracotta peach. But it does blend out nicely. It becomes pretty neutral. And it actually just looks so natural on the skin. $95 US though. So I was taken aback by the price because with a cream blush, you definitely have to use it up, you know, before it goes bad. We do have, what's the shelf life on here? You know, I'm sure I stated it in the video, but on the actual packaging here, it doesn't say, but we have 6 grams of product. It's made in Italy. I would say it's probably 6 months to a year for shelf life. Probably, I think it's going to last at least a year, hopefully. But I really like the color on the skin. I feel like it looks warmer on the swatches than it does on the skin. It just looks really like a natural nude on the cheeks. So I've been using this one a lot. Actually, one of my go-to like lazy day makeup looks has been this blush with the Viseart eyeshadow. I just pick like a couple shades from there. And sometimes I add the Surratt highlighter, which we'll get to in a minute. And I've been using the Lisa Eldridge skin tint a lot and the Westman Atelier I Want You mascara in brown. Those have, and the Byredo brow pencil in sand. That's kind of been like a go-to, and then tons of lip balms this month. So I've been wearing those quite a bit as well. So that's kind of just like an everyday look that I've been doing recently. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Surratt highlighters. These are the liquid highlighters. They sent all 3 of these to me. I have to say, I really love the actual product itself. I think it's gorgeous. This is a shade Frou Frou. And you can see you can really build it up. You can also make it more subtle. There are 3 shades here. I love the formula. I personally just don't like this packaging at all. So I might actually just pull this out. Yeah, and use it, you know, in a kind of like a little, you know, like a pump. So you'll twist at the bottom. So I don't know. Right now, what I've been doing is I've been leaving it like this and then just using either a brush or my finger on here. I don't like to apply it directly to my skin from the actual applicator here. So love the product, the actual formula, love the colors, but I don't like the packaging personally. Let's go ahead and move on to Byredo. So I actually talked about this palette in the last month, but I did revisit it. It is still a favorite, but I'm telling you now, it probably would have been part of my top 5, but because it's not technically new this month, I left it out of the top 5. But this is going to go in one of my favorite palettes of the year. I'm like 99% sure that nothing's really going to be topping that, or, you know, at least not enough things to knock it from its pedestal. I love the Mineralscapes palette from Byredo. So that is fantastic. Definitely still a winner. The other products, and I have already kind of mentioned, we have the Byredo brow pencil in sand. And so we have, when you first get this, there is a bit of wax on the top. It makes it pretty stiff and dry feeling. It does get a bit creamier when you use it, but it's a very, very fine tip. So it's not going to feel, you know, necessarily as creamy as some other products just because of the actual structure of it. This is the shade Sand. I've really come to love this. I think it is a fantastic formula. It's a little bit drier than the Victoria Beckham brow pencil that I love. And yeah, I originally was thinking that I would not repurchase this when the time came. And by the way, it does come with a refill, but I think I might. So I think this and the Victoria Beckham are kind of my two go-tos. So I've been reaching for this one every day. Absolutely love that. And then also from Byredo, I also picked up the Frozen Memo lip gloss. So that's downstairs in my purse right now, but I've been using that just to kind of top things off. It really doesn't have much color. It's a translucent gloss. You're not really going to see much. There is shimmer. And so I just use it to kind of top off a lip look and so forth. And I really like it. But again, it's not necessarily something super special or unique, but I do really love the Byredo lip vinyl formula. So I would buy it again, but I think most people might appreciate something a little less expensive that still gives you a similar look. However, if you're a huge fan of the Byredo liquid vinyl lipstick formula, then you're gonna like this one as well. Then we have the Phytosurgence Mystic Meadows collection. And so they released 6 new eye shades. And they do have a new eye formula as well. So this is creamier, silkier. It's a little bit thinner texturally, but it still lasts really well in the eyes, lasts all day without creasing. They came out with some beautiful kind of like smoky neutral shades inspired by Meadows. So I personally love them. I think they're great. There are some shades that look a little similar to each other depending on how much sparkle you want. But I would pick up all 6 of them again. These are probably my favorite cream eyeshadow formula on the market. So I do hope that they expand. Right now they're Canadian companies. They're available in Canada, in the US, and I believe Australia and New Zealand. So hopefully I think they are working on expanding to other places, but it's going to take some time. They're a small company. Then let's go ahead and move into SUQQU Summer. So with SUQQU Summer, they released this cheek and lip tint, and they sent me an eyeshadow palette and this shade, which is S03. The cheek and lip tint, these are permanent, so these aren't going anywhere. They are similar in formula to the Chanel No. 1 de Chanel cream blushes, but not as moussey or sticky. They're a little bit drier than the Chanel, but that would be the closest formula comparison. And I really loved it. So I did purchase the other 2 shades that they released. So let me go ahead and swatch these. I also purchased one of the lipsticks, or not lipsticks, sorry. It was a lip gloss in the purple, but I still haven't opened that one yet. So these I haven't featured on my channel yet, these other 2 shades, but I will. So we have number 2 and number 1. So 1, 2, and 3. And I think this is a really great product. You can use it, again, cheeks or lips. I typically like to use these on the cheeks personally, and you just need a little bit. So I actually have shade number 2 on right now very lightly, but you can definitely build it up to be a bit more impactful. The eyeshadow palette was also a winner, but it's these here that really stood out to me. So I would purchase the eyeshadow palette. I would purchase these. I'd purchase the gloss, which I did. But if you had to pick one, I think trying one of these is, for me, that was my favorite item from this collection. We also took a look at the new Danessa Myricks Lowlighter, and this is in the shade Unbothered. And this is a really beautiful, kind of a warm pink iridescent shade. And I like this buffed in more as blush for me, or even just underneath some blush. I think it's a really pretty shade. I love I love the formula that she uses for the blurring balm powders. So I think it's definitely something worth looking into if you're looking for something like that. And yeah, I think that is a really nice product. I'd love to see a cooler pink though. So I would purchase that again. And then I also picked up a few other things from Sephora, like the Makeup by Mario. This is the Soft Sculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum. So I picked up this in shade Fair and shade Salt for the Saie Liquid Bronzer. I like the Saie underneath foundation more. It's a little bit grayer, so I like it more as contour product. And I like this one underneath. And this it shears out a lot, so it's better on top. I think it's a nice one. So I would actually purchase both of these again, but they're not things that I would use all the time because I just don't bronze or contour every day. Then we have the Bright Eyes eyeliner from Trish McAvoy. Let's see, where can we squeeze this? And I really love this color. It's kind of that purpley blue, a little bit more blue, but it does definitely have a bit of a purple vibe to it as well. And it's stayed put all day. I really like this one, so I would definitely check out more of their products. Gucci lipstick in Rosso Ancora. It's a great red. If you're looking for a power red, this is a great shade. I would pick this up again. I do really like it. So it is a neutral red. And, you know, I just remembered somebody wanted me to swatch this with Lisa Eldridge ribbon. So let me get that real quickly. So I depotted mine into a view set container. And this here is ribbon. Let's put that right next to it. And you can see that ribbon is going to have just a little bit more pink in the base. See how they fade out? You can see that ribbon is going to be more pink and the Gucci's a little bit more neutral. So I think they are both great reds, but the Gucci is definitely more of a true red, whereas there's definitely a stronger blue base in the Lisa Eldridge. Then we have the new Westman Atelier blush stick shades. This one here is going to be the shade Garçon. And I have to say, I think it is a great shade. And you can see this one compared to this here is the Tom Ford versus this. You can see this is a cooler option. And I think it's a really beautiful, kind of a dusty mauve. It does have a touch of terracotta in it, so it makes it not too cool. So if you want something that's a little cool, you know, this is a good option there. I think it's a beautiful shade. We also have Coquette, which is a peachy shade. And this is kind of, it's similar to Manette without the sparkle. And I think both shades are great. I would pick up both of these again. They are ones that I personally really like, and I love the formula of those blush sticks personally. They are like a drier cream stick, so they last and stay put all day, even in the summer heat. So they are definitely go-to products for me during the summer. So yeah, I would buy them again. All right, and moving on to the new Guerlain lipsticks. So the new Rouge lipsticks, they have been reformulated. I have to say, I do like the new formula of the lipsticks. I think they're a nice product. The mattes or velvets in particular is where I noticed the major change. They are a bit more comfortable than the previous version. But, okay, so we have the same idea. The cases look like they'd be about the same. Let's take a look though. So here's an older case. And you can see when you get it in, it has a gap. It will fall out, so it doesn't really stay put well. And sometimes, like if you want to put this in an older case, you really have to line up this front part, because sometimes if you're just putting it in, it seems like it's not going in all the way. So you can see this on a couple of cases here. So you're always going to get kind of that gap there. And then if you take an old lipstick, so silver, and you put it into this, okay, you can see that it's not fitting. And on some of my older refills and cases, it actually gets the same gap as the original, which is kind of weird. It's really just like if you can line it up properly and get it just kind of snake it in there. This one in particular, it's bigger though. So it's weird. You would think they'd all be exactly the same. Now, what somebody did recommend, and I haven't tried this yet because this doesn't just pull out easily, but you can take this out of the Guerlain base and you can fit these into other lipstick cases. Like, I forget which ones they actually recommended. I think they might have been, were they Dior or something? But you can actually get them to fit into other bases, and that might be an option. So if you were the one who suggested that and said that you do that, please share which cases they were that you use them with. I'm definitely interested in checking that out. I'm just really disappointed that these cases are not going to be, the older ones are not going to be able to be reused, because like this is one I engraved for one of my daughters, and now it's like kind of pointless to save this for them. So it's just disappointing. Now, I already bought a ton of lipsticks. I'm not going to be buying any more from the permanent line, but would I buy more of these when they come out, like special colors and stuff? Yes, I would. I do really like the formula, but I am completely bummed that the old cases don't fit, because that was kind of like the idea behind those cases, that they would always be fitting. They'd be classic and timeless. And now they're not. So disappointing, but I will probably still buy certain colors again. If I had known that the cases didn't fit when I made my original order, I would not have bought as many as I did. And next up, we have Chantecaille Summer. And I have to say, Chantecaille Summer, you know, it's not necessarily the most exciting collection. The bronzer itself, Sunstone, it's very, very close to Surratt. I mean, it's a slightly different shade, but it's very close. So it's a little bit too warm for me. I can use it, but I probably won't use it too much. So this one here's the Armani shade. Let me put this Surratt next to it. Let's make that a little bit deeper so you can see that. You can see it's going to be a bit more brown. So this is definitely one that I can use. You have some shimmer in there. It's a really beautiful formula. Packaging on these is super cheap. I don't like the packaging. But I have to say, I keep reaching for these blushes. I love the blushes. So I absolutely love the formula, but I hate the packaging. I feel like for the price point, it's not really worth it. If it weren't for this packaging, these would be in my top 5 this month. The formula, it's great. I've been using the blushes on a pretty regular basis already. This one here is the shade Energy. Let's put it down here. It's a really pretty coral. They've got some shimmer to them. But unfortunately, for the price point with this packaging, I couldn't put it in my top 5, even though I love the formula. So I think, you know, overall, they're okay. Would I buy those blushes again? I would. I'd try to get them on sale. The bronzer, if you have Surratt, you probably don't really need Sunstone. And then the other product they came out with are the lip sheers. Now, I have used their lip sheers in the past. They've had them out a few years ago. I've been using the shade Empower, this one right here, quite a bit. So I would recommend these. I like them. And they probably won't last super long. I know I used up my old ones in just like a matter of a few months. And yeah, I would buy these again. I think these are really nice. And now that's a great segue into all of our tinted lip balms that we tried this month. So we tried the YSL tinted lip balms. These are the like candy glazed butter balm. So this one here is going to be shade 1B. And this one here is a pH adaptive. And I think this is a great formula. They are a nice buttery lip balm. Very faintly colored. I do really like these. Would I buy them again? Yes, I would. If you're looking for something oilier, consider the Augustinus Bader lip balms. And I also I love lip balms. So honestly, I really like all of these. But this is going to be a thinner, more oily texture. So I think these are great when you really don't feel like you want anything on, but you want a hint of color. Whereas the YSL is a little bit thicker, more buttery in texture. So you can feel that you have something on your lips, while this is a bit more weightless, just like a very thin, oily texture. But I really like both of them. This is shade number 1, by the way. And then we also have the Prada lip balms. So this one here is shade U011. And I love the Prada lip balms. So these are also going to have a little bit more of a buttery, waxy texture. They're a little bit lighter in weight than the YSL. And these, out of the lip balms this month, I would have to say these were my second favorite. So first favorite, well, you know, it's hard to say. Yeah, my first favorite are the Sisley. But second, honestly, it's probably the Prada, and then the Chantecaille would be third. And then I think the YSL and the Augustinus Bader are tied for me. It's really just a difference in textures, you know, which one I'm more in the mood for. But then we have the Sisley balms. And this one here is shade number 3, the Rosewood shade. I use these all the time. So I love these. They're definitely going to be sheer. You can get more color from some of the others. But I love the formula of these. And it's just a little bit, it has a little bit more of an oilier wax texture than the Prada. The Prada feels a little bit drier, whereas these feel just a little bit more balmy. I love both of them. I think they are fantastic. I would buy all of these lip balms again. And honestly, my purse, if you look inside, I don't even have lipsticks in there anymore. It's all lip balms and like maybe a gloss. And that's what fills up my purse nowadays. So yeah, I use these all the time, and I definitely would not hesitate to purchase any of those again. But those were kind of my preferences there. So let's go ahead and move on to my top 5. All right, so for my top 5, these may or may not be surprises, but we're going to start off with my favorite brush this month, which was the number 2 from the SUQQU Artist Series. So I love this. I think it's a fantastic brush, and it was definitely one of my favorite products this month. Then I also wanted to include, and these are in no particular order, the SUQQU blush and lip in S03. It's just such a beautiful purple berry shade. I really love that. I think the formula is great. It's definitely something I'll be using a lot during the summer. You can use it on the lips and get more of a monochromatic look. So I think that's great. And then of course the Sisley lip balm. I mean, I use this all the time, so I had to include that. And as I mentioned before, some other products I've been using frequently would be the Tom Ford blush, which I'm hoping I can make some good progress on this before it expires. And then the Viseart Paris Reverie. So those would be my top 5. Now, I do want to mention, as I said before, the Byredo Mineralscapes palette is a favorite of the year for mine, but it wasn't eligible for this month's top 5 because I didn't truly feature it this month. And then the Chantecaille blushes, the formula definitely would go up in a top 5, but the packaging knocked it off. And that is also kind of my issue with the Guerlain. So the Guerlain lipsticks, I do really love that formula. And if that had, if they had kept the cases the same size, then they would have been my top 5. But that just, it bothered me so much that I couldn't put that in my top 5 because it's a reformulation, but I wouldn't say, yes, I do think the velvets are a better formula than the old one, but the satins, I think I like the older satins still slightly better. And so it's not necessarily an improved formula. So overall then it kind of got knocked off because of this whole case issue. So that's my top 5 for this month. I hope this has been helpful. Please share in the comments your thoughts on these items and what your favorites and fails were for this month. I'd love to hear it. I'm sure everybody else would love to read those comments as well. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you very soon.